Good evening, welcome to ITV News Meridian.
Tonight's headlines in the south. Enough is enough. Passengers meet to demand an end to their southern trains nightmare.
Proud parent, the mother from Church Crookham, who has a lot to thank her young son for.
Flat pack fans. Shoppers can't wait to get into a new IKEA. Some even camped out overnight.
And inspiring a new generation, the Olympian who wants you to join the biggest sports day in the south. Good evening to you. Welcome. Weeks of delays, cancellations, overcrowding, the day in, day out misery for southern train passengers who pay hundreds, some thousands of pounds for their commute.
Well, here's a snapshot of today's service from Southampton Airport Parkway to Brighton. Some trains late by 12 minutes. An alert message that reads there is a delay to part of this journey, and that's despite the emergency timetable brought in to help.
Well, tonight along the coast there's a public meeting in Seaford to talk about this dire situation affecting so many. Our reporter Andy Dickinson is there.
Well, the small town of Seaford this week, the focus of disruption that hundreds of thousands of commuters across our region are now suffering every day. Passengers from areas like this one having to cope with 80% cuts now in their train services, while the dispute between Southern Rail and Union RMT shows no sign of ending. The meeting called tonight by MP Maria Caulfield. We'll be speaking to her in just a moment, but first, a recap of the situation that's brought us here today. Hundreds of protesters gather in Seaford as a new emergency timetable brought in by Southern Rail leaves them and thousands like them feeling cut off. Their only alternative, replacement bus journeys, as the overwhelming majority of their trains are cancelled. This the culmination of months of misery for commuters across Sussex, with delays and cancellations caused by staff shortages, sickness and strikes. At the heart of the chaos, a dispute with Southern's owners Govia Thameslink wanting to introduce driver-operated train doors. Rail Union, the RMT, arguing that guards are needed for passenger safety. The result, 341 trains a day have now been temporarily axed. The new timetable, a more resilient service, the franchise says. The worst affected routes here along the south coast, but even the Gatwick Express service has been hit. Workers, residents and tourists all suffering. The Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, adding his voice to those calling for the franchise to be stripped. The rail company and the union refusing to back down. The people of Seaford saying enough is enough. Maria Caulfield, long before this dispute, Southern Rail were known as the worst performing train operator in the country. Surely it's time for them to go.
Well, that's something that we've been asking in Parliament this week. I, along with other colleagues, cross-party colleagues, have been, even yesterday in Westminster Hall, we're having a debate with the Rail Minister, and a number of us were saying, look, maybe it is time to withdraw the franchise, or certainly change the management in Southern Rail, because a lot of this is down to the union dispute over the driver-only operating trains, but a lot of it is down to poor management. You know, the fact that our replacement bus services here in Seaford, people with pushchairs and wheelchairs can't get on them, that is poor management. That's not down to a union dispute. So there needs to be a radical rethink, and hence why I've asked Southern Rail to come to this meeting tonight to face the public in Seaford, in Newhaven, and to answer them why their train service has been cut to non-peak hours only, and how long that's going to be, and what are they going to do to improve performance. You cannot have the largest town in my constituency, Seaford, without a rail service. You cannot have Newhaven, which is a ferry port, without a rail service, and they've got some serious questions to answer.
We're seeing people losing their jobs because the rail service is so unreliable, disabled people trapped in their homes because the bus service simply can't take them. It's a shambles, isn't it?
Well, it certainly is, and the fact that we were given less than a week's notice of this temporary timetable, which means there's only peak hour trains running in Seaford and Newhaven, it's just unacceptable. People have got jobs. What are they supposed to say to their employers? I can't get to work anymore. We've got young people here who are going to the university in Brighton and Sussex. We've got no hospital in either town. People have to travel to Brighton or Eastbourne if they want to see their doctors. This is not acceptable. They've cut both towns off. without a rail service. This is a rural area. There's no other form of public transport for many of these people. They can't get to Lewes to get a connection to London to work. It's just unacceptable.
We're Caulfield MP. Thank you. This meeting begins at 7 o'clock tonight. If Tuesday's protests are anything to go by, there's going to be fireworks.
Andy, thank you very much.
Well, many passengers have been contacting us daily with their views and experiences of Southern trains. Here's just a few of them. Dave Kerr-Stevens says the service is simply not fit for purpose, which is in breach of its contract. He says they should lose the franchise. Adam Roberts regularly travels between Cosham and Southampton. He says, I was unable to board a train yesterday due to it being completely full and standing. This, he says, is a direct result of the so-called emergency timetable, a ridiculous scenario to put passengers in. And worse was the comment on the emergency timetable from Bhaskar Patel, who plays Rishi Sharma in Emmerdale, when we asked what people think of the situation on Twitter. Thank you to everyone for getting in touch.
Thanks, Sangeeta. In other news, surgeons in Southampton are leading a pioneering study into antibiotics for children with acute appendicitis. Currently, the condition is treated through an operation, but doctors are looking into whether drugs could be used instead. A Havant-based technology company has announced it plans to close with the loss of more than 300 jobs. Seagate, which builds hard drives at Langstone Technology Park, proposes to wind its operation down by next June, blaming a restructuring of their business. Bookings for the I360 in Brighton have had to be cancelled because of a delay in the tower's opening. They've been rescheduled for September because the attraction is still being tested.
Now, if you are a parent watching, are you confident your child could dial 999 in an emergency?
Well, statistics show many children haven't been taught to, and that's something the Hampshire and Isle of Wight Air Ambulance are trying to change by teaching youngsters of all ages and abilities across the region. Sally Simmons has our report.
The pilot and doctor are in the front of the helicopter, paramedics in the back. It's an emergency at Springwell School in Southampton. Children with learning difficulties may be play acting, but it's hoped they'll remember what to do in real life. According to Mumsnet, the online parenting network, 1 in 3 children haven't been taught how to dial the emergency services. A presentation like this is designed to drive the message home. Did you enjoy it today?
Yeah.
And what is that there behind
There's a
you?
helicopter. There's a helicopter. It's called Ambulance Air.
And who are these people?
999 people.
What number do you dial? Do you remember?
999. Is she breathing? Yes.
10-year-old Bradley from Church Crookham called an ambulance when his mother collapsed.
I heard something down, like, crash on the floor downstairs, and then my brother and sister were shouting, "Mummy, Mummy, wake up, wake up!"
So what number did you dial and what did you say?
999, of course. And then I picked the ambulance service.
I didn't know that he'd be that aware, to be honest, and how well he would cope. Plus, he also has additional needs. He's got ASD and ADHD. So, yeah, he coped fantastic.
Bradley had done first aid at school, but this subject is not on the curriculum.
Well, we just thought it was our social responsibility to make sure that every child is familiar with what to do if they ever find themselves in a 999 emergency situation.
The Hampshire and Isle of Wight Air Ambulance team have now taught over 20,000 children. They say anyone aged from 2 to 11 can learn and could save a life. Sally Simmons, ITV News, Southampton.
Well done, Bradley. Still to come tonight.
Defying the doctors, 83-year-old Mildred talks about the medical condition she shares with Theresa May.
All of our stories, head to itv.com/Meridian.
With the summer holidays fast approaching, youngsters are being warned about the dangers of entering lakes and rivers. A new campaign has been launched which will see children being taught to act as lifeguards.
The number of water-related deaths rises in the summer months. Only 2 months ago, Ellis Downs from Oxfordshire drowned in the River Thames and Culham after going into the water with friends. And last summer, 13-year-old Owen Duggar died when he accidentally fell into the river at Oxford.
Well, it's hoped the scheme will help reduce the number of water casualties. And one mother who lost her son to cold water shock is backing the scheme. Matt Price reports.
A child deep underwater and struggling to swim. It's a situation none of us would ever want to encounter.
What are you going to do first?
Check his pulse.
This is only a training exercise, but the children here, some as young as 8, are learning exactly what to do.
You're going to press down. 1, 2, 3. They've been doing rope throwing, extended arm toes and self-survival skills over the last couple of weeks. Should they come into a circumstance where they have to use it, I'd hope they feel confident enough, whether that be it be a CPR or if they see somebody in the local river or reservoir, that be able to feel that they could step in and help them out.
The Royal Lifesaving Society's Rookie Lifeguard programme is teaching them basic survival skills, but also how to safely help someone else in trouble.
So that arm's the one at 90 degrees.
I think it's really important. It could come up any day. It could happen like when we get home, but it's not. But it might. You don't know. If you have a pool at home, then yeah. You don't know what life hits you with.
The latest figures show 338 people drowned in 1 year alone, those aged 25 to 29 are most at risk of getting into difficulty, with more people losing their lives in the water in July than at any other time of the year.
Summer holidays and warm weather, it's sort of everybody wants to be around water, but it's important that everybody knows what to look for to stay safe when they're around water, especially if they're not around water for the rest of the year, perhaps if they're visiting the beach or go into a pool that they're not used to.
Cameron was the laughter in the house. He was a little comedian, and he was the life and soul of any room that he was in.
Fiona Gosling lost her 14-year-old son Cameron at this very spot 12 months ago. Ice-cold water sent his body into shock. Fiona's now campaigning for children to be given additional lessons in water safety at school, so they know how to help friends or relatives in trouble.
It's not about teaching your kids to swim, it's about teaching them the dangers in and around open water, the cold water shock, all the dangers underneath the water. That's what needs to be brought in. You're losing all these people every year.
The Department for Education have responded and say swimming is a vital life skill, and that's why pupils are taught how to swim and about water safety at primary school. The children here have learnt what to do should the worst happen, but hope never to put those life-saving skills to the test. Matt Price, ITV News.
Well, now, coming up just a little later this evening, real stories with real people.
Yes, ITV's Ranveer Singh, often seen in the Good Morning Britain studios, meets the woman who gave up a kidney to a stranger who was on the NHS waiting list. She meets the internet's most fearless stunt cyclist and the rugby league player who stunned the sporting world when he announced he was gay.
Well, here's what he tells Ranveer on tonight's programme.
I thought if someone found out that'd be it, I'd be done. I'd be out, because there were no gay rugby players. There was no gay sportsmen. And I couldn't say to her, Sarah, I'm gay, because I couldn't. It took me a long time to be able to say I'm gay out loud.
Well, Ranveer's in our London newsroom. Ranveer, good to see you. A variety of stories tonight, some real heartwarming tales of courage. Let's talk first about Keegan Hurst. We've just seen him. That did require courage, didn't it?
Absolutely, and you'll see him coming out onto stage and speaking to a crowded area where he tries to tell people, look, you've got to have the power to be yourself. He's such an inspiration.
Martin Ashton, mountain biker extraordinaire, against the odds.
You have to see this to believe it. This man has got an incredible mindset. If you think you are positive, just wait till you see him tonight.
What about the lady called Julie who gave a kidney to a stranger and had never met the recipient until now?
Well, as last year, Fred, you need to get your tissues ready for that one. I watched the final piece and I cried my heart out, and everybody who's watched it has too. So be ready for that tonight at 7:30.
So looking forward to the series. Is there a particular highlight in this series for you personally?
Well, I'm still yet to go and film with the first couple in the world who have cloned their dead dog at a lab in South Korea and spent hundreds of thousands of pounds on it. Honestly, I cannot wait for you to see that.
Fascinating. Ranveer, good to talk to you. Looking forward to the series.
Thank you.
See Real Stories with Ranveer Singh here on ITV at 7:30 this evening.
It's 6:15 and the ITV Evening News continues with the national and international news at 6:30. Here's Charlene White.
Theresa May clears out Cameron's cabinet with high-profile sackings, resignations and reshuffles. On her first full day as the new Prime Minister, Nicky Morgan loses education, Michael Gove is out at justice. Leadership rival Andrea Leadsom is promoted to environment, but Jeremy Hunt stays at health and then tweets, reports of my death have been greatly exaggerated. Mark Austin will be in Downing Street with the latest on the reshuffle, and I'll have the rest of the day's news at 6:30.
Well, now, as well as running the country, Theresa May will also spend her time in number 10 Downing Street managing a lifelong health condition.
Mrs May has type 1 diabetes and needs 4 injections of insulin a day. She says the news came as a shock.
Type 1, unlike type 2, is not caused by poor diet or unhealthy lifestyle. It's when a person's pancreas fails to produce enough insulin and blood sugar levels become too high.
In the ITV Meridian region, at least 25,000 people have been diagnosed with type 1.
But if Mrs May needed inspiration on how to cope with the condition, she need look no further than 83-year-old Mildred Skirmer. With more, Peter Bean.
Morning, Mildred. Morning. Are you all right this morning?
Yeah, thank you.
Good.
Twice a day, every day, Mildred Skirmer has her insulin injection. It regulates her blood sugar levels. Left unchecked, they could get too high, leading to serious health problems. Mrs Skirmer was told she had type 1 diabetes at the age of 21. Now 83, she's been injecting herself for 6 decades. It's only since Christmas that she's had a nurse in to help her.
It come natural to stick it in. It's just looking at it and then got to do it.
So you weren't funny about needles or anything like that? You were happy?
I was very frightened of needles, but
just got on with it.
You come accustomed to it then.
As a young woman, Mrs Skirmer was fit and healthy, a keen gymnast. Her diagnosis came as a big shock, especially as type 1 diabetes can reduce someone's life expectancy by around 14 years.
She's quite often said if I get to 70, I've done well. This is from Dr. Peace, I believe, who was the consultant she was under when she first got diagnosed.
So you proved the doctors wrong?
Oh yeah, well, we can prove them, can't we?
In the total time, that's 62 years, that Mildred has had diabetes, she's had 45,000 injections. That comes to a total of 10 litres of insulin.
One for having diabetes for 50 years.
Yeah.
And then the second one for 60 years. So you've got 2 medals.
Oh, yeah.
The charity Diabetes UK has now recognised Mrs Skirmer's courage in living with the condition for so long.
It's bad enough to do the injections twice a day, but you've got to monitor the food side of things, your blood sugar side, and fitting it in with your day-to-day life. Really, it's quite an achievement. It's very hard to manage diabetes.
Advances in treatment mean type 1 diabetics are now living longer. Mrs Skirmer puts her longevity down to being strict about what and when she eats. But she's got a way to go to equal the record for living with diabetes, which currently stands at 80 years. Peter Bean, ITV News.
Mildred looks great, doesn't she?
She does indeed, definitely.
Reading's long-awaited IKEA whichever you choose, open today. Hundreds of shoppers queued for hours to be the first in, some even camped outside overnight. It is 7 years since IKEA opened here in the south. There were similar scenes back then at the Southampton store.
Well, the new Reading one is based just off junction 12 of the M4 at Calcott. It's created almost 400 new jobs, but there are fears over increased traffic levels on the A4.
Our resident shopaholic Mel Blore was one of the first inside.
It's the day fans of flat pack furniture and Swedish meatballs have been waiting for. First through the doors, 19-year-old Ella Cook and her mum Katie, who spent the night in a tent outside.
We had an awful lot of people driving past, fascinated by the fact that we were here. The concrete wasn't quite forgiving. It was a little bit cold on the shoulders, but we had a good night. It was good fun.
The new £10 million store is the first to open in the Thames Valley and the first in the UK for 7 years. By the time the store was ready to open, hundreds had lined up, keen to get a glimpse inside.
We got here about 7:20 this morning. We never had a IKEA at all in the Reading, and we're happy for shopping.
Why did you get here so early?
Obviously to beat the crowds and obviously free stuff.
The store was granted planning permission 4 years ago amid some controversy over its location.
While some say the store is great for the local economy, some concerns have been raised about traffic and parking.
There's been publicity about some of the store openings which have caused traffic chaos, and people thought that might happen here. Also, they don't have any specific parking for employees, and residents are concerned that some employees, or maybe even customers, will park up in our village, which is only a few hundred metres away across the motorway.
There was no sign of traffic chaos this morning, but people in Thiel say it's early days.
We've got to give it time more than anything. Whether that will increase too much, but we'll have to wait and see.
We did an investment of £4 million, and we have widened the Pinsons Lane, and we have also helped widen Bath Road as well as around the roundabout by the M4.
The new store will also be served by 2 bus routes later this month. Mel Blore, ITV News, Reading.
Now, the Rio Olympics is set to inspire the next generation of gifted athletes. But what if you were not quite so talented?
I guess you mean.
I'm definitely not talented. How can you still get involved?
We may just have the answer. The nation's biggest sports day, called I Am Team GB. It's backed by our Olympic team, the National Lottery and ITV, and will take place on August the 27th with free activities across the country.
And you'll have no excuse for watching the telly, because ITV is switching off its screens for an hour to encourage its viewers to join in. Here's Andrew Pate.
At first glance, the Southern Vipers floorball team from Farnborough don't seem to have much in common with the top athletes competing in Rio. But later next month, they'll be sharing an Olympic dream with those going for gold.
I've been a huge advocate over the years of people getting involved with sport and activity. Ultimately, being fitter and healthier is great for absolutely everybody. There's less of a strain on things like the NHS. You feel better when you're going to work. As a whole, being active is hugely important.
Across the Meridian region, there's everything from rugby to rowing. It'll be open to everyone, and it's totally free. All you have to do is sign up and come along on August the 27th.
This is floorball, it's great. It's like ice hockey, but you play it in a hall. It's really fast paced, and loads of people can play it no matter your skill level. It's just great fun.
Elsewhere in our region, the Bevington Down Park Runners will be out in force in Brighton. The 14th Eastleigh Scout Group will be offering sessions in dodgeball. And the Cole Porter Rowing Club will be taking to the waters in Southampton. And so much more.
It is truly the greatest thing to go out there and participate with friends, family, or just other people you haven't met. It's a great chance to create bonds with people. And as I say, get fit and healthy. Being fit and healthy is hugely beneficial to everything across the board. So if you're umming and ahhing a little bit about it, believe me, there's so many benefits to get involved with. So get out there and start getting active.
And along with the smaller clubs, there'll also be national sports events throughout the country, with even ITV's own Coronation Street and Emmerdale taking part. Andrew Pate, ITV News, Farnborough.
And as we said, ITV will be doing its part, turning off its TV channels for an hour at 9:30 a.m. on Saturday the 27th of August to encourage us all to get up and out.
All events are free. If you fancy joining in or you belong to a club that wants to take part, you can sign up on the I Am Team GB website or iamteamgb.com.
And details on our website too. Simon's with us now. Si.
Yeah, I'm going to see that your competitive spirit is already here. Yes. Because we can't get enough of sunrise, sunset. Good. Lovely pictures, but from which end of the day? Time to reflect on your answer with this one. From Hayley in the New Forest.
You can't see the sun.
Set.
Set, it is a set.
Well
done. Nice bit of horse action here in Nursling from Natasha Wayers.
Made it difficult.
No, that's a set as well. Chris
1-1.
Karuna sent in this one of Swanage Bay.
That's a rise.
That is a rise, well done.
Thank you.
Bonus point here if you can name that pier.
That's Brighton Pier.
Bournemouth is the answer.
Pier,
Martin Dolan, was he there first thing or last thing?
So he didn't get
Last
that.
thing.
Last thing, no, it's a sunrise.
Oh,
2-2.
draw.
A nice bit of poppy action in the field in the Cotswolds from
That
Damien
is
Davis.
a rise, please.
No, it's a sunset.
Oh, no.
And finally, Les Lockhart in East Cowes sent this in from Seaview near Ryde.
That's a sunrise.
No, it's a sunset. Oh, that was a whitewash, wasn't it?
Yes.
I'm the gold medal winner.
It wasn't a whitewash, it was a narrow 4-2 victory to you. For
You kid yourself, that's the answer?
We are not bitter. Here he is,
Not at all.
Simon Perky Park.
From blizzards to pool, driving through Europe. Eurotunnel the Shuttle sponsors ITV Meridian weather.
Well, rather aptly on a day when it actually felt like summer, Lucy sent in our first sunflower of the year. I suspect there'll be more, and bigger ones at that, but certainly the weather good for your sunflowers as well as for us. Tonight it's going to be a quiet night. There'll be some bits and pieces of cloud, actually feeling quite cool and fresh, but then tomorrow a weather front to the west is going to push some cloud our way. The rain mainly affecting northern parts of the country, so we should get away with a dry one, though it will turn a bit grey. As for tonight, bits and pieces of cloud here and there. Temperatures, though, in the rural spots could dip down into single figures, so a cooler feel than the last couple of nights, and certainly first thing tomorrow morning might be a bit nippy, but some decent bright spells to get us going as we head through tomorrow. We will see that cloud tend to thicken up. It should stay dry. Temperatures not that bad, in fact not that different from today, peaking at around 19, maybe 20 degrees, and with just a light wind too, so if you do manage a decent bit of blue sky it should feel fairly pleasant. As for your high tide times, you can see, well, in Brighton 8:15 in the morning, then 8:45 in the evening, and then Saturday another decent day. There might be a fair bit of cloud around, but it should stay dry and feeling warm and humid in any sunshine as well.
Eurotunnel the Shuttle sponsors ITV Meridian weather. Keeping a close eye on summer. The Pollen Count, sponsored by Ilogy Eye Drops.
So as well as the grass pollen, the weed pollen is just getting going, and the fungal spores are doing their thing too. So fine day tomorrow means levels will be high, and unfortunately, as the weather stays fine through the weekend, they won't drop.
Yes, the Fungal Spores, a great band. I had a blooming good time this morning presenting the awards at Junior Gosport in Bloom.
Well, it's an attempt by the council to encourage children to grow fruit, flowers and veg at school. The idea is they'll hopefully love it so much that they'll carry on gardening when they leave school.
Well, it seems to work. The kids really embrace it, especially the morning's big winners, and they were Alverstoke Infants. Olivia, Alverstoke Infants doing so well. Why do you like gardening so much?
Because it makes it all beautiful and everything's growing and it's all nice.
It is all nice. And you've been chuckling away here. What's your name?
Isabel.
Isabel, why do you enjoy it?
It's because when things look all dirty, they have to redo them and then it looks all nice.
Yeah, what do you like growing the most? Potatoes?
Yeah.
Yes. Sprouts?
No.
No.
Good
I'm
old
not bad at
sprouts.
sprouts myself, to be honest.
Lovely, Fred. On tomorrow's programme now, we'll be meeting a group of men who decided not to put their feet up in their retirement and instead to go on the road trip of a lifetime.
Yes, they clocked up 18,000 miles, crossing 3 continents and taking in some of the most stunning scenery in the whole world. Their story, and it's great, here tomorrow at 6.
Yep, Les, Keith and Roland, don't miss them. In just a moment here on ITV, we've got the ITV Evening News with Mark Austin at Downing Street and Charlene White in the studio.
For now, though, from the team here at ITV Meridian, thanks very much for watching. See you again tomorrow. Take care from all of us. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.